Now, a little background on Salto. Um, I've already gone ahead and connected a bunch of orgs here on the left-hand side. We call them environments when we connect to one of your orgs, be it sandbox or production. I've built a pipeline, my Salesforce pipeline, you'll see here, that shows the direction of changes and how these orgs are interconnected. I can, you know, mix and match these connections for Salto. The comparison between these orgs is purely logical. So even if I have multiple production orgs, I could slot those right in here into my pipeline as well. It's really whatever makes sense for your company, for your customers and your teams. These are super flexible to make that pipeline look the way it needs to for you. So um, beyond that, to speed things up here, I've already gone and done a couple of changes. I've pushed them into UAT, so out of Dev 1 and out of Dev 2. So I've got two developer sandboxes there that I was making changes in. I've pushed a couple of things into UAT here. You'll notice earlier, because I wanted to show this functionality, I made two changes down here. I've already promoted those into production, as we can see is highlighted here in my flow. And then it's been back promoted into hotfix. So not only am I going to show you, how easy it is to do these things, but the visualization after the fact of understanding where something is, where it's lived, where it's been promoted to, all shows up here in this pipeline view. So for today, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to promote these two tickets. So I had one coming out of Dev 1 and one coming out of Dev 2. They're now in UAT, as I can see here. And just to make it a little clearer, I'm going to get rid of some of the noise. You see, I've got a deployment here called alignment, which was a back promotion from earlier when I was aligning my environments to prepare for this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and filter that out. Oops, excuse me. So we're going to filter that out. And now I'm only looking at tickets, at deployments that have a biz app ticket ID on them. So that helps me to narrow in on the things that I have a proper ticket. And I'm going to go ahead and send over this op query in lead query deployments. So these are changes. I'll show you one of them right here. Actually, I'll show you a lead query. This deployment within Salto that I did earlier is a change to an Apex class and a brand new field, a custom field on the lead object. So you can see here, I've made that field change, and then I've added it into the content of one of my queries here. So I'm adding DP notes as a field I want to pull out in a query. So that's been pushed up into QA. Now I'd like to take both of these things. The op query as well is an update on that same Apex class, but in a different query, a different method. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to ask Salto to promote these. See, my target is going to be production. So that auto populates there. And then I'm going to create the deployment. And what Salto does is we're going to combine these deployments out of QA. Now this may be 2 deployments, it might be 5 deployments. We're going to do the same thing. Based on the set of changes within these deployments, we're going to merge them together. We're going to validate them all at once so that we can be confident that what we're pushing up into production is going to function as appropriate. Now, I don't have any tests on this Apex class. That's on purpose. I don't want to run my full suite, so we're keeping it nice and simple. But if I needed to run a validate against this deployment, if I wanted to run all of my tests as a part of this deployment, we can run those as well from right inside this pipeline. So can set that up and have it run. But we're going to keep it simple for our for time purposes here. You'll notice now that I have both changes within this customer engineering Apex. It's merged both my lead query, where I'm adding DP notes, as well as it's adding the close date field onto my opportunity query. And it's going to deploy the DP notes field as well, because it's required, and it's a part of my previous set of changes. So now, if I hit deploy and go ahead and finish this off, Salto will ask me, am I sure? I am sure. So let's go ahead and let this promote up into production. And then after this is done, we will see that my pipeline will update. And I actually have a draft. You can see here now, if I was on the screen as someone was doing the deployment, we can see that we're promoting these deployments up into production. So as that's going, I will get notified of the completion here in just a moment. And if at any point in time I want to go see the status or check on anything, I can always click back. So everything here is interconnected. So it looks like, yep, we have finished this. Let's go back and check that UI. So here we're going, just haven't gotten an update quite yet. We can blame that on my internet today. Been a little slow, of course, on webinar days. There we go. And now I see that in production, my latest deployment going to from UAT into production. You can see my previous one that I was testing earlier. Again, that deployment is complete. I have a record I can come back to of what I promoted. And then the pipeline, we notice the difference here is that one of them has been back promoted to hotfix and the other hasn't. Well, how would I get these changes, these new changes back into hotfix or even into other lower environments, right? Hotfix environment is important to keep as close to production as possible. So we want to make sure that it is aligned with any deployments going into production. Well, I can select what I just sent, hit back promote. Salto will let me choose whether I want to go back to hotfix or maybe back to, another sandbox environment, another UAT environment. And then I will go ahead and say, I'm going to back promoting 2 deployments. I'll hit create. Now Salto is going to do exactly the same thing that we did when we were pushing up to production, except now back to hotfix. It's going to revalidate both of these deployments, make sure we don't have any collisions with this environment. As you can imagine in the hotfix org, I might have changes that are ongoing. Someone was working on a ticket, they want to push to production. I would hate to collide with that and blow it away. So Salto is going to check for these things. Case in point, here I have a conflict with what is in my hotfix. So intentional, so we can show this off. And I get a nice view here showing me that there is a small change. So I'm going to go ahead and take that conflict. Look like a spacing issue, but if someone's working on one thing, actually it was my DP notes. So if someone was making a change to this at the same time I was doing DP notes, so we detected that. So it just wants to be absolutely sure that if 2 people are touching the same line, that we make sure we get human eyes on that so I can check it, resolve it, and make sure it's a smooth back deploy. So we're going to let this process now that I've applied my conflict resolution. I'm good to go. Great. So let's push this back to my hotfix. And I'll also see the pipeline update. We can now see that we are syncing, the deployment is done. Everything should be in place. And I can see now that I have indeed back promoted both of those production deploys that I had done earlier. And so with that, we see just how easy it is to move from our dev environments to UAT, to production, and back to hotfix, even when we have potential conflicts between these environments. Salto is going to give us visibility so that we can resolve those issues and make sure our environments are not only aligned, but that we haven't blown away any work in progress while we're at it. So I'm going to take